3 Republicans running in the primary for state treasurer: Andrew Cooperrider, Mark Metcalf, and O.J. Oleka. So let's talk about the office of state treasurer and why you want it. We'll begin with you, Mr. Cooperrider. Tell us a little bit about your background and why you think you're qualified to be the next state treasurer.
Well, absolutely. So my wife and I founded our first company with just $3,000. Today, that business employs dozens of Kentuckians. Now, I didn't set out in life with a goal to be an elected politician, but everything changed for me in November of 2020 when unelected bureaucrats enforcing Andy Beshear's overreaching mandates came into my coffee shop here in Lexington, Brood, and demanded my family lose everything or go to jail if we served another cup of coffee, while strip clubs and liquor stores and abortion clinics remained open. My small mom and pop shop was being forced to shut down. And I took a stand that day and said no. And on that day, I vowed to fight and sacrifice anything I needed to in order to ensure this out of control and overreaching government gets out of our taxpayers' lives and pocketbooks. And so state treasurer, you believe, is the office that can do that? Absolutely. There's not a single thing government does without, of course, spending money. All through the last several years, what we've said is follow the money, you'll find the corruption. Follow the money, you'll find the overreach. Follow the money, you'll see where our government's getting out of control. And that's absolutely what the state treasurer has access to, that nuts and bolts of the budget. And it hasn't been used before to really call out how to control spending. And so that's what we're going to do. The legislature, though, they do appropriate the money. So how do you see your role, if you are elected state treasurer, fitting into that equation? Yeah, so I've given a great example of this. You can go to my website right now and check out what I call the waste report. So with that nuts and bolts access, we're going to seek out and find out of control, wasteful spending, and report that. Bring it to the attention of our legislators. Keep in mind, our legislators are just part-time. And it's very hard for them to keep track of every single dollar of government spending and the millions that we see being wasted. So often, when we ask our legislators to spend less, they say, well, where do you want to make the cuts? And they're not saying that to be mean or to be in a conflict with the taxpayer. They're saying it because they don't know, because it takes a lot of time to look at it. And so the state treasurer putting together that report, that then they can decide how to deal with it. They see a department spending money in a way it shouldn't be. They can decide whether or not they want to cut the budget of that department and encourage better fiscal policy out of our government as a whole. Mr. Oleka, you have served as deputy treasurer and you've worked with the current treasurer, Allison Ball. Is that how it works? Is that the kind of power that a state treasurer has in those purse strings? And tell us why you want to follow in Allison Ball's footsteps.
Well, first, Renee, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and to make the case on why I think we need an experienced conservative to be our next state treasurer. That's why I'm running. My parents came to this country from Nigeria with nothing. They worked hard. My dad worked his way through college to become a professor. My mother did the same thing to become a nurse. And it was that middle-class life that allowed them to buy a house in Frankfort, put 3 kids through college, and now their favorite, as I like to say, their baby boy, is running for statewide office. They live the American dream. And that is why I am running for this office of state treasurer, because I want to protect, preserve, defend, and promote the American dream. I've got the experience to do it. As you mentioned, I worked for Treasurer Ball. So I know this office front and back. This is the only office I've ever run for. It is the only office in government that I've ever worked in. To answer your other question, no, Mr. Cooperrider is wrong in terms of how the office works. The General Assembly, they fine tooth and comb every single aspect of the budget, which is why I was honored to receive the endorsement of Senator McDaniel, who is the Appropriations and Revenue Chair in the Senate. He understands how the budget works. The Republican General Assembly has done a great job on this. What they need is a treasurer who understands the office that they're running for, and I'm the candidate in this race to do that, because what I want to do is make sure we can structurally cut the costs of government. The way that the treasurer can do it, right now it costs 64 cents to write, print, and send a check to the people of Kentucky if they need one. We can do this electronically, and it costs 3 cents. So what I would do is I would eliminate every single check that we can, saving $3 million, giving the General Assembly actual dollars that they can send and appropriate somewhere else. Just telling them what government is spending is something that they already know, which is why they're doing their job, and I'm proud of the Republican work that we've done thus far.
Mr. Metcalf, you're currently the Garrett County Attorney and in the office there, and you have said that you have cut that staff by 20% and that you would do the same in the Treasurer's office. So tell me where you would make those cuts. Is that personnel? Is it other efficiencies that you would find? And how do you view the role of a state treasurer?
Thank you, Renee, and thank you, KET, for having us tonight. First of all, let's go to the last question first. How do I see this office? I see it as an opportunity to speak out for taxpayers, to restore to Kentucky fiscal discipline. I'm a prosecutor. I'm a combat veteran. I'm also an outsider to Frankfort. I bring the perspective of a man who's watched Frankfort indebt the people of this state far beyond the means of one generation to pay those debts off. I'll give you an example. Just for the privilege of getting up in the morning and going to bed at night, a taxpayer will shoulder $20,000. They're part of Kentucky's $16 billion debt. What we need to do is to start with an attitude that says we can do better. Now let's go to welfare. Kentucky has a welfare bill in its biennial budget of $2.9, almost $3 billion. 44% of our workforce is not working. Let's get them back to work. Let's get them the training that they need, because we know that training costs a lot less than welfare. We know that education costs a lot less than incarceration. Let's get them the educations they need, and let's start working down our welfare bill immediately. Also, why this office? This office is the place that collects every dime of revenue and pays it out. And if there's one office particularly situated to give the story for Kentucky's taxpayers from the perspective of a prosecutor who's returned money to crime victims, and as a man who's worn the cloth of his country in a combat theater, I think that uniquely qualifies me to speak on behalf of Kentuckians who, year after year, find the debts going up and not coming down. And so I think that when you ask that question, I hope I'm giving you the answer that tells you that from cutting my own budget and reducing the expenditures in my office, I'm prepared to do the same thing as Kentucky State Treasurer.